Disclaimer: this story contains mature themes intended for adult viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. The door creaked just enough to betray the silence. I was mid-motion, the lotion still slick between my fingers, gliding across my collarbone when I turned instinctively toward the sound. He stood there, frozen, breath shallow. I don't know who was more startled, him for walking into something he clearly shouldn't have seen, or me for not immediately covering up. But instead of scrambling for a towel or turning away, I just looked at him, straight into those deep, questioning eyes. He didn't speak. Neither did I. The sunlight filtered in through the half-drawn curtains, casting golden ripples across my skin, catching the tiny movements of my fingers as they stilled near the top of my chest. His gaze didn't drop. Not in the way men usually do. It lingered, troubled, curious, hungry even, but not disrespectful. It felt like we both understood that something unspoken had been cracked open between us. And once it's open, you can't pretend it never was. I could have told him to leave. I should have. But the words stuck to the back of my throat like honey, slow, heavy, sweet. He stepped back an inch, like he meant to go, but never fully did. And I stayed there, still bare, still watching him. My breathing picked up just enough for him to notice. His jaw tightened. We both heard it, felt it, the shift in air, in pulse, in understanding. The kind of moment that doesn't belong in polite households. He finally turned his head, eyes breaking from mine like it physically hurt him. Sorry, he muttered, voice too soft to mean just that. I nodded. That's all I could manage. A nod. A pulse. A memory now burned into both our minds. But as the door clicked shut behind him, and I finally let out the breath I hadn't realized I was holding, I knew something dangerous had just started. Not because of what he saw, but because neither of us seemed eager to forget it. And deep down, maybe neither of us really wanted to. The air between us hadn't cleared since that morning. I was in the laundry room, awkwardly crouched near the dryer, trying to fix a jammed latch when I heard his footsteps. Again. Quiet, but unmistakable. I didn't turn. Just muttered. It stuck, frustrated, tugging without much success. He paused behind me, then said, "Let me try." And just like that, he was kneeling beside me. His shoulder brushed mine as he reached forward, fingers brushing over mine to find the latch. I froze for a second. His skin was warm, his touch light, but it stirred something far from innocent. I moved my hand away, but not far. The space between us was small. Too small. Our arms kept grazing. My breath quickened, and I could feel his, too, shallow and deliberate. He was focused, lips slightly parted, brows furrowed, and I was watching him more than the latch. He managed to pop it open with a sudden click. The sound startled both of us. I laughed softly, nervous. He turned to face me, that boyish grin twitching at the corners of his mouth. "There," he said, but his hand didn't move right away. Something in the air changed again, charged, thick. His knee was nearly touching mine, and I could smell the faint trace of his cologne. Fresh. Warm. Familiar. I reached for the laundry basket beside him, and our fingers collided. Neither of us pulled back quickly this time. Instead, we looked up at each other, closer than we'd ever been. His eyes flicked to my lips. Just once. A second too long. My heart thudded. Loud. Reckless. "I should go," I whispered, voice low, almost hoarse. He nodded, but his eyes stayed on me, lingering, conflicted. And then, as if breaking from a trance, I stood quickly, brushing imaginary dust from my pants, heart racing. He followed suit, more slowly, eyes darting away like he regretted something. We didn't speak. Didn't need to. But the silence this time? It didn't just sizzle. It begged for more. It was late. The storm outside had knocked out the power, and the house sat in a blanket of soft, flickering candlelight. I came downstairs for water, barefoot, wearing one of those cotton robes I only ever wore when I thought no one else was watching. But he was there, sitting at the end of the couch, arms resting on his knees, head low like something heavy had just settled on his shoulders. I paused in the doorway. "You okay?" He looked up slowly. The glow of the candle on the table painted his face in soft golds and shadows. His eyes were tired, rimmed with something unspoken. "Couldn't sleep," he said. "Too loud in my head." That made something twist inside me. I walked over, not thinking too much, and sat on the other end of the couch. "Want to talk about it?" He shrugged. "It's just, everything feels messy. Like I don't know where I'm supposed to be." His voice cracked on that last word, and I saw it, how lost he was trying not to look. I reached over, instinctively, and placed my hand on his arm. The moment I touched him, he exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for days. Neither of us moved. My hand stayed there, warm against his skin. Slowly, he turned toward me, and I felt his eyes tracing every detail of my face. I should have looked away. I didn't. "You make it feel less confusing," he said, his voice barely a whisper. I swallowed hard, heart thudding. "That's dangerous," I murmured, eyes still locked with his. He leaned in slowly, cautiously, like he didn't even realize he was doing it. My breath caught. I could feel the warmth of him, the way his presence pulled me closer without touching me at all. My hand drifted up, brushing his jaw, just barely. His eyes fluttered shut. But before anything more happened, I pulled back. Sharp. Quick. Like stepping away from fire just before it burns. "I should go," I said again, but this time my voice trembled. He nodded. Didn't stop me, but didn't look away either. And as I walked up the stairs, the heat still clung to me like the storm's humidity. Heavy. Charged. Waiting. "I don't get why you keep acting like it didn't mean anything," he snapped, standing in the doorway, chest rising too fast. "You looked at me like you felt it too." I turned, slamming the drawer shut harder than necessary. The kitchen was dim, early evening casting a dull blue haze through the windows. "That look was a mistake," I hissed. "You were vulnerable." I was, being human. "No, that wasn't just being human." He stepped forward, voice low, raw. "You wanted it. You want me." His words cut like heat through cold. I spun to face him, jaw tight. "You don't get to put your confusion on me. I've kept my distance. I've done everything right, except lie to yourself." We stood there, breathing heavy, close now. Too close. The counter was at my back. He was in front of me, towering but not intimidating. His voice dropped lower. "Say you didn't feel it, and I'll walk away." I couldn't speak. My throat tightened. My lips parted, but nothing came out. He stepped in. Just enough that our chests nearly brushed. "Say it." His voice was a whisper now. His eyes searched mine, burning with frustration and something far more dangerous. My hands were trembling, resting against the cold edge of the counter. One of his drifted to hover beside my hip, never touching, but there. A breath away. I tried. Failed. His face was inches from mine. I felt the heat radiating off him. My pulse thundered. "You don't have to pretend with me," he murmured. "I see you." My heart cracked open. Wide. Loud. Vulnerable. His hand brushed mine lightly, a test. I didn't pull away. And then, our lips were so close I could feel the whisper of his breath. My eyes fluttered shut. Just for a second. The world narrowed down to that space between us, thin, electric, about to snap. But I blinked back to reality, jerking my hand away like it had caught fire. "We can't," I breathed, voice shaking. "I know," he said, just as wrecked. And still, neither of us moved. The house was quiet. The kind of quiet that settles deep, like a breath held too long. They stood across from each other again, this time with no excuses, no one to interrupt, no flicker of guilt sharp enough to chase them back. Just them. And the weight of everything unspoken finally tipping into something too full to carry anymore. His hand reached out first, tentative, brushing her fingers like a question. She didn't pull away. Instead, she laced hers through his slowly, deliberately. Fingers curled. Breaths met in the space between them. Warmth bloomed, slow and certain. I tried to stay away, she whispered. I never wanted you to, he replied, voice low, reverent. His other hand found her cheek, callous thumb grazing the softness of her skin. Her eyes fluttered closed. Not from fear. From surrender. To him. To this. To the ache that had lived between them for far too long. Their foreheads touched first. A small collision of truth. Then came the kiss, not urgent, not frantic, but deep and soul-spilling. The kind of kiss that says, I've been waiting for this longer than I want to admit. She sighed into it. A breath against his lips that trembled with relief and want. Hands explored the shape of each other through fabric. Gentle first, then hungry. Her robe slipped from her shoulders like a sigh, pulling out of sight. His shirt followed, dropped carelessly, as if clothes had no meaning here, only skin, only warmth. Their bodies met like puzzle pieces long denied their fit. Softness wrapped around strength, and strength melted into gentleness. There was no rush. Just the slow burn of finally allowing what had always been there. They moved in tandem, like a dance they already knew. She whispered his name like a secret, over and over. He responded in touches, along her spine, at her waist, over the curve of her back, fingertips speaking where words would crumble. The air was thick with their breath, humid with the heat rising between them. A single candle flickered on the nightstand, throwing shadows that danced across the walls. They didn't notice. Their focus was only on each other. Time dissolved. Only sensation remained, his hand in her hair, her lips at his neck, the hush of sheets, the stuttering breaths, the trembling surrender. There was passion, yes, but tenderness too. A hunger finally fed. A thirst finally quenched. When it was over, they stayed close. Limbs tangled. Chests rising and falling in sync. She didn't speak. Neither did he. Because some nights didn't need words. Just truth, laid bare in touch. Morning crept in gently, painting the room in cool silver light. The candle had long burned out. The air smelled faintly of skin, breath, and something unspoken. She was awake first. He was still beside her, arm draped loosely across her waist, lips parted in sleep. Her heart fluttered, traitorously warm and aching. She traced the outline of his fingers lightly with her own, afraid to break the stillness, afraid to want this much. But she did. God, she did. When he stirred, opening his eyes slowly, they met hers and just looked. No words. No smile. Just an ocean of meaning sitting between them, too deep for small talk. Hey, he whispered. Hey, she replied, voice softer than a breath. A pause stretched between them, full of unsaid things. She pulled the sheet up higher, suddenly shy, cheeks flushed in the morning light. He noticed and shifted slightly back, respectful, but not detached. His fingers lingered just long enough on her wrist to say, I'm still here. But before either of them could say more, the knock came. Sharp. Unexpected. Real. They froze. She sat up quickly, hard in her throat, the sheet clutched to her chest. He looked toward the door, eyes wide, the spell broken in one single moment. Mom? You in there? Came a voice from the hallway, familiar, casual, too close. Panic. She turned to him, eyes wide. His expression mirrored hers. Everything that had just happened suddenly felt exposed, fragile, dangerously real. Stay here, she whispered urgently, grabbing her robe from the edge of the bed. He nodded, already sitting up, running a hand through his hair as if trying to erase the night from his skin. She opened the door just enough to peek through. Yeah? What's wrong? Nothing, came the casual reply. Just wondering if you've seen my charger. She laughed, strained. Check the kitchen drawer. Cool, thanks. Footsteps retreated. Silence returned. She turned back to him slowly. They locked eyes again. The heat had changed. Still there, but now tangled in fear, in reality, in the impossibility of pretending this was simple. I should go, he said softly, reaching for his shirt. She nodded. But neither of them moved. Because now, walking away was suddenly the hardest part. The house was quiet again that night, just like it had been before everything changed. Except now, silence wasn't peaceful. It was loud, full of questions neither of them had the courage to answer out loud. She stood in the doorway to the guest room, robe tied, heart clenched. He was packing. Not much, just a duffel bag, a few essentials. He hadn't said where he was going. He didn't have to. I wasn't supposed to fall for you, he said without turning. It just happened. Her breath hitched. I wasn't supposed to let you. He faced her then. Slowly. The way he looked at her made everything twist. His eyes held the memory of her touch, her voice, her breath on his skin. A storm lived in those eyes, quiet but certain. I can't stay here and pretend, he said softly, stepping closer. She didn't stop him. When he reached her, they stood inches apart again. Always inches. Always one breath away from right or wrong. His hand reached up, brushed a strand of hair from her cheek. Tell me to go, and I will. Her lips trembled. She could feel the edge again, that dangerous line between surrender and goodbye. But she didn't say it. Instead, she reached up, cupped his face with trembling fingers, and pressed her forehead to his. I never stopped thinking about that moment, she whispered. When you walked in, and I didn't pull my hands away. He kissed her then, not rushed, not reckless. Just right. Their bodies met like the truth had finally won. Soft sighs. Lingering touches. Her robe slipped again, but this time she didn't care. They found each other again in slow movements. Bare skin against bare honesty. The night wrapped around them like a promise. There was no hiding now. No pretending. Only choice. And they made it. Together.